Hey, what's going on everybody? Jeremy Rubin, the Friendly Flipper here, and on today's flip tip, I'm going to be answering the question, what's the max I can price my flip at? Alright, so to illustrate a point here, what's the difference between these envelopes? Well, different characteristics, right? Different levels of finish, you could say. You've got something like this, the very nicest level of finish, you might say. Lovely shade of yellow. It's got the peel and stick thing, high quality folds, right? Then you've got on the opposite end of the spectrum, much more basic envelope, right? Can you sleep in either envelope? Are either envelope a nice house? Yes, but the quality is different. The finish is different. Not to mention the size, but that's not actually what we're comparing. We're looking at the finish. How about this finish? Oh, this has bars on the windows. Well, but it's a lick and stick, not a peel and stick. This one's got the bars and the peel and stick. Different characteristics. So what does this have to do with pricing your flip? Well, everything. Because every neighborhood has a maximum dollar that it will support. A maximum number it'll support regardless of square footage. You're gonna get to a point where basically you can't build anymore. There's diminishing returns because whatever, even if you have a house that's 500, 1,000 square feet bigger than all the rest of them around there, it's going to be, your returns are going to start to diminish drastically. So you can't price it based on $1 per square foot amount and just pencil it all out. So you got to take into account a couple different things when you are going to put your flip up for sale on the market. So first thing, we got two different kinds of neighborhoods, right? So let's take a look at this neighborhood. If you're looking at sold comps in your neighborhood, you'll find what the max is. You'll figure out, okay, what's the top dollar for someone to buy a house, the average house in this neighborhood? What is it? You're gonna figure that out by looking at the comps. Don't try to push that number. Don't try to go above it. In general, you're going to have a real tough time, even if your square footage justifies it, even if it says, if it pencils out that you can charge so much more, you're going to have a tough time selling the most expensive house in the neighborhood. So in general, you want to stick to things that are what you can go in, make cosmetic renovations and improvements to modernize, and then be able to sell at under what the top of market is for the neighborhood. Even better if it's lower. There's not really a downside if it's lower, but know what the max is because it's hard to push that. You don't want to push it. You get into all sorts of mess with making sure it gets appraised, and that's even if you're going to get a buyer, because it's most people don't want to buy the most expensive house on the block. It's not a smart decision to do that, and most people know that. Okay, so if you have your 350K max neighborhood over here, that's going to warrant a certain type of finish, there. And depending on where that is, it's going to be a lower end finish. It's going to be a lower end, more basic finish. Meaning I'm going to get my materials from Home Depot because I can do really nice flips. Most of my flips are Home Depot flips. Generally, we'll use the nicest stuff available from Home Depot, not the cheapest stuff, because even there, Home Depot kind of maxes out at a certain level of finish, where to go into more expensive, nicer neighborhoods, more luxurious homes, not even super luxury stuff, but just kind of the next level, a lot of your materials aren't going to come from Home Depot. Or there's kind of that price point where you see, okay, this is some more custom stuff, or just even, heavier doors, nicer handles, that kind of stuff. So you want to be conscious of where that price point is. Out here, in that $350,000 neighborhood, this is Home Depot all day. You can do, in California, you can do a Home Depot finish, Home Depot flip all the way up into the 500, 600, even 700,000 range if you do it nicely. If you use the right stuff, the right materials, and the quality of work is there. The finish I'm talking about, we're talking about cabinets, and I don't use Home Depot cabinets for the most part. You want to use nicer stuff for that. Granite or quartz countertops, We're talking about the quality of work, you know, the way a door handle feels, the way, you know, solid core or hollow core doors. You know, there's a certain price point where it's expected that you have solid doors. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right. It feels cheap. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. So that's another thing to be aware of, because no matter how much of that nice stuff, that really nice high-end stuff you put into this $350,000 house, you're not going to be able to charge more than that $350,000 price max for the neighborhood. So don't overbuild your rehab. On the same token, on the higher end, we're talking around in California, prices are high out here. So I'm talking around 650 and up, 700, 800,000. That's kind of the price point where it starts to be expected that you use a nicer finish than even the nicest stuff at Home Depot. So just to give you an idea, are flips still doable? Absolutely, but you have to take into account your customer base that's paying that amount of money is going to want something that's a little bit nicer, you know. So then again, you can't be using the lower end stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it doesn't align with that neighborhood, because you're not going to be able to get near your max value if your house does not match equal in finish to what the other nicest homes in the neighborhood are selling for. So that's how you determine where your property lands. You're looking at the comps, you're seeing, okay, what's the max in this neighborhood? What's the finish that's expected? And then you're going backwards and figuring out what's it gonna cost to renovate the property to that appropriate level of finish. So you're taking that into account. So now to answer the question, what should I price my property at? What's the max I should charge? And this applies to retail markets right now. Our aim with the standard fix and flip is to go in, renovate a property, modernize it, make it as nice as the nicest homes on the block, and sell it for the same price or even slightly less. That's how they move fast. So how do you do that numbers wise? What does that look like? Take the max ARV, what you think it will appraise for, max after repair value, and then go 97% of that. 97% of max value of what you believe it will appraise for without pushing numbers. That's where you should be pricing your property at. That way, it's slightly below market. It's going to be not only as nice as the rest of the homes, but it's also going to be a great value. And that's how we get them to move fast. Now keep in mind, this works with the fix and flip strategy of aligning your property with top comps for that neighborhood. There are ways that you can even get higher than max ARV when it comes to lease option or seller financing your property, but I'm strictly talking about listing your property, your fix and flip, on a retail market on the MLS so it moves fast. So that's the answer for today's fix and flip tip. If you want to hear more of these flip tips, if you want to see more of these flip tip videos pop up in your feed, hit subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, let me know what you'd like to see in a future flip tip. Until next time, I'll see you on the next flip tip video. Peace out.